very good friend of mine, he said to me, head of a big company, he said, you know, Hillary, I just want to come back in the next life as the client. And I said, we all serve someone who never will. And it's true. If it's not somebody's superior.
And part of that was not only to celebrate our inauguration as an American, but also in defiance of any terrorist attack that I thought would lead. I think a lot of other people.
Thank you. And now I'd like you to raise your hand if you can think of at least one person that you don't think highly of.
We could hardly find people to take the tickets on Sunday. And yet, as you say, there are different fans that come out to the field. It'll be packed.
You're aiming and you see the monument, the Washington Monument, you're aiming at the monument, and I stand there, this is absolutely magnificent. So, and it's just a joyous place to be. And every
The bottom line is, I think, you can always project what it is that you like and you dislike, and yet it's not always easy to do it. There are 5 things that really always in every situation matter. And I'll tell you how effective this once was. It's not in my words, it's in the word of an IT consultant at Clark Construction. They had actually put in a whole system that went down. So you can imagine in a brand new building when all of the IT goes down, internet goes down, emails go down, how happy that company was when he was going down there. And he knew it. And he shared with the CIO of Clark Construction what he knew was going to happen. And he shared the story. He said, I was going downtown, I assumed into DC. He said, I was going downtown, and I knew, and they knew, that they'd lose the client. I mean, that's pretty obvious. That's a no-brainer. He said, but I put on the armor of the 5 C's. They ended up, not only did they retain the client, they got more business. Visual versus internal. Again, going back to my point earlier about it doesn't matter how you are inside, because I think all of you are really good people. I think all of you want to succeed. Every single person here does want to sell more. You do want to improve the relationship with your customer. You all want it. But let's face it, do they know that? How do you know if somebody's really totally and utterly interested and fascinated in what you have to say? That's what they want. It goes back to the point that Rusty made about the doctor's office. People don't want to be somewhere where you're not treated well. When you go to meet with anyone, they want to know that you find them fascinating. How many people love to be bored by someone that goes on and on and on and on about themselves? Right? You don't. Give you a good joke to remember this. They always talk about the Hollywood actress that spends hours and hours talking to this one particular fellow, and she's going on and on and on and on about her movies, totally and utterly boring him, and he's looking like this, and she realizes he's bored. So she decides very cleverly that she'll change the subject about him. And she says, so now tell me, Kent, what did you think about my recent movie? So the point is that you don't go on and on about yourself. And I see this all the time. And usually, the more nervous someone is, the more they want to talk about what it is they've got to sell, because they want to keep the conversation going, versus just asking, listening, making them feel like they're the center of the world. You know, people that have a great ability to make other people feel like they're the center of the world are loved by everyone. A couple of political examples, political or people of notoriety, Princess Diana and Bill Clinton. 2 people that for whatever reason, all walks of life just happen to love and gravitate to. Now why? Do you think that when Princess Diana went to meet people in a coal mining village in Yorkshire in England, and when Bill Clinton went into West Virginia someplace, do you think they stood there and told them all about their day? And Bill Clinton talked about the SALT Treaty, and she talked about what was going on. Actually, if she talked about what was going on in Buckingham Palace, people might have been interested, actually. But the point is they didn't. You can envision both of them bending down and asking some coal miner, oh, what's your little child's name? Asking something about them. And when people doubt me about this, people say, well, Hillary, you know, I'm not such a good communicator. I can't get along with just anybody like you can. You can get along with anybody. Do you know how I can get along with anybody? Because it's all about them. I actually could develop a serious relationship with this podium. So how long have you been here? And do you like the plaque that's on the front of you? And what do you think about being faced like to the audience like this? Do you like that? Or how is it to be, have you been brown your entire life? I mean, I we go on, and do you like it, the fact that the microphone's like up here, or would you rather it be down here? What do you think? You seem kind of stiff to me. Are you stiff like the whole time? Ha ha ha, now the podium will laugh. The point is that, no, really, the podium would laugh eventually. I can make anybody laugh. The point, and they may be laughing at me or with me, I don't know. The point is it's not about me. It's about the podium. The podium doesn't want to hear all about me. The podium cares about the podium. Everybody you're meeting with cares about themselves. They don't really want to hear a lot from you. Candor. I don't think anybody got up this morning and said, you know what, I think I'll lie today. Now, there may be some politicians, because they're in the business of doing that, but we don't do that. And yet, it kind of creeps into our business speak. So when we talked about trust, trusting people is critical in what we do. When it's services, and it's not a product, it's a service, there is no tangible. I don't have a tangible to sell you. You don't have a tangible to sell anybody else. It's those services. So they've got to trust you, absolutely implicit in the sale. One of the quickest ways to gain immense trust is to be extremely candid on the things they kind of know you're going to lie on. Lie, mistruth. When anybody's late to anything in this region, any of the time, what is it? The answer is, right, traffic. Or if it's a snowy day, right, snow. And it isn't. A lot of times you had too much to drink last night and you really couldn't get up. Oh, you know what? Actually, it was so cold and so dark this morning, I didn't want to get out of bed, and I've been running late all day. People love candor. It's like when people say to me, when I have a receptionist at my office, I've got a cell phone with a voicemail on it, I've got a housekeeper at my house, there's no way I don't get it when anybody's communicated with me. People say that phrase like, oh, well, I tried to reach you. You know, tried to reach me? Oh, your hand was going like this on the desk and you couldn't quite reach the phone, or, you know, what? So don't use words that are just absolutely shallow. People do all the time.
When you go to a business golf outing, you're always in the best milieu. And you look at today, it's beautiful out there. We're in a dark room, and not to belittle this at all, because I love Ewan's Network, and I think Susan does a lovely job, but we could be outside, we could be on the golf course in 70 degrees, looking at the foliage in the mountains. So anybody who's golfing is somewhere really beautiful. I mean, even in Washington, D.C., Haynes Point. I mean, Haynes Point, you're aiming and you see the monument, the Washington Monument, you're aiming at the monument. I mean, I stand there, this is absolutely magnificent. So, and it's just a joyous place to be, and everybody in business loves it. I say it's the only way to get to certain executives, and I'll tell you this, I can't think of another way that you as women, or that I can, that's acceptable, spend 4.5 hours with a man that isn't your husband. How else are you going to bond with it? What else are you going to do that is, as I say, acceptable? Business golf is the way it is. Now also, I think something that's really important in terms of Corporate Golf Magazine, they also conduct a study every year with all the top executives from Fortune 500 companies across America, only from the Standards & Poor's, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000. Every year they rank this, and they say all CEOs are obviously extremely busy, people are busier and have less time than they've ever had. However, the 2004 handicap rankings reveals they find time for golf. All their handicaps go down. They are finding time for that. So when people don't have any time to meet with me, if I suggest golf, well, the system, so always they manage to find time. So you want to get to men, you want to get to successful business people, you golf with them. And who benefits from business side? I mean, ability aside, and I put the ability aside because given my story at the beginning, men will go out there who don't have the ability, and you should too. It's just beneficial to have an understanding of the business golf culture. So I'm hoping for the ladies that aren't interested in golf, this will help you to a certain extent. And it's kind of largely a set of unspoken values that occur on the golf course. Like a unique sort of language and a unique milieu. Now this guy, I got some of these, I think, rather lovely photographs. This guy, this is to encourage everybody in the room, okay, this guy couldn't hit the golf ball. If you stand, I think actually he thought he was hammering nails into a wall. I think he must have been a workman. Because look at him, he's just going to smash that ball into the ground. He couldn't get him. He never, ever, ever made it further than a dribble down here, okay? So don't be in any way intimidated, okay? So why do some talented people miss the opportunity to golf? Well, let me tell you, who is playing business golf? Women are more intimidated than they need to be. Only a small percentage of all Americans across genders have ever broken 100. Let me give you the tip about this lady. If you do go out, never wear your golf cap around this way. This is not the ghetto, this is the golf course. Okay? We're not going out there to do drug deals, or at least not in professional circles in this region. Why do certain types of businesses benefit from golf? And I will show you this young man. This young man was a phenomenal golfer. You look at that stance, he's got himself coiled right round. Actually, beautiful, fantastic golfer. So what sort of businesses benefit the most from golf? And this is where you should really look at this and think to yourself, is this my kind of business? What kind of business am I in? Is it one of these two? There are two types of businesses. There's product marketing and there's services marketing. Please raise your hand if you're in a product business, i.e. cell phones, cosmetics, something tangible that you can actually sell a product, and actually it will be almost, it doesn't have to be you, it could be relevant if you're okay. And then who is in product marketing, services marketing? The majority of ladies. Okay, so let me bring up this slide. The one thing that you need to build when you have a services business is trust. And as Susan's remarks at the beginning said, she really opened up with the fact that women need to meet each other, women need to build trust, and this is the way that we do this, especially through the eWomen's Network. And I would say, how do you build trust? Number one way is to bond with someone. Number one way is to spend time with them. So lots of things we're going to talk about today are how do you do that on the golf course? If you're going to spend the time with people, what are the things you should do and not do? Because as I mentioned, it can actually be it can be more detrimental than anything if you play and you make a mistake. Now, the sort of unique characteristics of product marketing, I think you all know, it's an immediate order, there's little or no contact, it's mass distribution, and to a certain extent, and not to denigrate anybody who's in a product business, but it doesn't matter if it's you or anybody else selling it. It could be a different person. So it doesn't matter. The trust issue is not as important. In a service business, it is critical. Some of the things here in terms of the long-term orientation and business development are important. Most important are the sequential interactions. That's where I think golf fits perfectly in business, in terms of sequential interactions. The next step, you've had a lunch, you've met at a reception, you can invite people to golf, you can invite people to a scramble, you can invite them to your corporate outing. There are a plethora of ways to develop your business contacts and expand them in customer relationship management through golf.
So target demographics. So you're going out into the marketplace, and I would say, obviously, many of you in marketing degrees, and this is obviously a marketing forum, you know the basic things about marketing, you know, the title of the person and everything, knowing all the background, where do they shop, where do they live, all the data material. What I think people often overlook are two things, and those are the two things in red at the bottom. The secondary target demographic. Now, your primary is, like, for example, you're going to get a job. Young lady, what's your name? Regita. Regita is going for an interview. Now, Regita might think that Bob Jones, Regita's interviewing with, is the decision maker, right? He's the primary decision maker, but there's secondary all around you. Just like I said, when you're going in and you're going in for an interview, you need to look down the hallways. When you go in, now not all companies do this. Now you're going to be paranoid. You're going to be like, you know, you're going into the ladies' room and you're just deciding, backing in there, who's going to sit. I go to the bathroom too many times. Is that something Hillary said? But the point is that they're going to ask around. I actually worked for one specific partner at KPMG, and he would actually almost base whether he would hire somebody or not on how they treated his staff on the way in. And he'd have literally, it was all planned. We had to go out there and kind of go back. If the person didn't even look at us, even smile, and wasn't going to treat his people well either. No, I'm sorry. You are who you are, and it's very difficult to fake it. And that later is why we're going to get to business golf, because you can't hide who you are on the golf course. Now, a lot of people are very effective in hiding who they are at a business reception, a networking reception, a corporate meeting, and I'll get into why you can't hide it in the golf course. But so when you go into an interview, Regita, there'll be a lot of other factors that are going to matter, and all the things that occur during the meeting. And those are what I call secondary demographics. Other secondary demographics are anything you're going to do in life, and this is where we're going to get into relationship marketing. You've heard the expression, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I say it's who you know that gets you there, it's what you know that keeps you there. So the most important thing is, what are all the connections and the contacts that you can make around that one particular person that are influencers around them, influencers around your primary demographic. And who are the channel partners that are going to help you? When I say secondary, let me give you an example. For example, I'm going to give you an example now about actually my business, in that I speak on business golf, I do training on relationship marketing. So in that vein, there's somebody who heads up all of the Washington Convention Center and Tourist Board, and somebody that I've just met, I know for business from years, from working at the Board of Trade. So I'm going to be meeting with him because why? He's not my primary target demographic. I don't think he's ever going to necessarily hire me for something, although I could probably help him out with attracting business to the convention, because all of the convention traffic that comes there, I could be a speaker at those forums. So he, for me, is what I call a channel partner or a secondary target demographic. And I don't see a lot of companies leveraging the secondary target demographic, like a city Who is going to refer business? Who could push the business the way of Citi? The channel partners are what are critical in business. I now am looking at how many different channel partners can I establish so that they feed me my business versus me having to go out and pound the pavement myself. Also, something that's very powerful in life is testimonials and case studies, because testimonials are somebody else saying that you're great versus you going out and having to say it. If I have the head of all of the Tourist and Convention Bureau in Washington, D.C., talking to major conventions that are coming and saying, by the way, there's a speaker I'd like to recommend, that's much better than me calling and saying, hi, right now I'm a nobody, one day I'll be somebody, hi, I'm Hillary Brugan, I'm a nobody and you don't know me, but I'd like to be expensive speaker at your invention. They're not going to hire me, but if he says I'm a good speaker, they'll definitely hire me. So that's the point. Always think of who's your secondary target demographic. And the key is about every single person on earth. Every single person on earth is driven by human truths. There are certain truths about people's personalities that just will always stand fast. There is no woman, I don't think, maybe there is, in the history of womanhood that got up in front of the mirror and said in the morning, you know, I wish I was fatter. It doesn't happen. There aren't many men who get up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, I wish I was quite a bit shorter than I am now. So those are just two examples, but there's so many human truths. I'll give you a couple other human truths. I'll tell you the reason that communism failed, I think, versus capitalism. Capitalism, in our constitution, one of the best lines we have, in the pursuit of happiness. Why? Because that's what you want, right?
And a golden rule in relationship marketing is never tell people what you do professionally. Never. Ask them questions about themselves. Ask them questions about their business. When you've learned enough about their business, when they do eventually ask you, because it's part of our society to be polite and ask people and reciprocate, when they eventually ask you, they're going to be, first of all, interested in what you do, because now they've asked you the question, you're not downloading a series of just pushy sales lines on them. They've asked you, they're interested. And secondly, because you've learned about their business, then you can say something appropriate to their business, like I did earlier with Marianne, because you can fit what you do into what they're doing. So never start off a dialogue with telling anybody what you do. And if they asked you right off the bat, you can just say the name of your company and immediately change it to what they do. So when you're hosting a business golf, what's the best way to get the business golf done? Look at the day on the golf course, the time on the golf course, the day time there as purely business bonding. This is all about making sure when they leave the golf course, one, they have a positive impression with you, and now you've used all your 4 golden rules that I mentioned, pace of play, where to hit the ball, what to eat. There's also attire, of course. I think that everybody here seems to appropriately dressed, classic business golf attire. But you followed all the golden rules. So when do you start getting your point across? When do you start raising the situation? It is probably never on the front 9. You don't raise it. You can generally, gradually ask them questions about them. I would stay away from business. Let the conversation go naturally. Let them start to raise it then. By the back 9, I always, if they haven't raised anything to do with business, I'll always have an open-ended question, which is something about their company, just to say generally, well, you know, so what kind of challenges are you facing? You know, generally, how things going? It's like one of those general, kind of loosey-goosey opening lines. I would say about 60 to 70% of the time, if I'm entertaining, they know that I'm entertaining them for business, they'll open up, they say where they're going in their business, they say what the challenges are, and we start the dialogue. Sometimes they kind of push it away, they don't want to. At that point, I always back off. Because if they're having a great round of golf, you don't want to ruin it. And if they're having a lousy round of golf, they don't feel like talking about business and it's the wrong time. And the way to make sure you get a deal at the end of golf is to not think you're going to get a deal. There's no day that you can go out on the golf course and think, I'm going to close something today. The goal is leave today knowing that I followed all my golden rules. They like the way I behave. I'm playing well enough to hold my own. And unlike men that go out and golf when they can't, I can because I've been to clinics, I profess my golf game, and I know the right time to raise business, and I know when to bring it up, and I know how not to ruin their game. When you're in at the 19th hole, that's the time to leverage everything you've learned on the golf course about their personality and about their business, and then to talk to them more about the business too.